Hello, history lovers and curious minds of the past. Today we are diving into the life of a man whose name became synonymous with power, the leader who transformed Rome forever, Gaius Julius Caesar. If you ever thought he was the first emperor, get ready to discover an even more fascinating and complex truth. In this video, we will unravel the legend of Caesar, from his humble beginnings to his tragic end, and how he laid the foundations for an empire that would last for centuries. Get ready, because history isn't just for reading, it's for living. Before we dive in, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single episode that uncovers history's most fascinating stories. Welcome to Rome in the 1st century BC. A bustling city full of intrigue and opportunity. Here, in 100 BC, a child was born into the gens Julia, a patrician family, yes, but of little wealth at the time. We are talking about Gaius Julius Caesar. His father died when he was only 16, leaving him as paterfamilias prematurely. From a very young age, Caesar showed an unbreakable tenacity. During the proscriptions of the dictator Sulla, a dark period of political purges, the young Caesar was the target of hostility. Sulla demanded that he divorce his wife, Cornelia, the daughter of a political enemy. His response? A firm no. This reckless refusal for a teenager forced him to flee Rome to save his life. It is said that Sulla, upon forgiving him, saw in him many Mariuses, a premonition of his future greatness and danger. Far from Rome, Caesar did not waste time. He served as a military legate in Asia and Cilicia, where he earned the civic crown, the highest decoration for valor. He was even captured by pirates, and instead of being intimidated, he demanded a higher ransom from them and promised to crucify them. A promise he fulfilled. Upon his return, he made a name for himself as a lawyer and orator in the Forum and was elected pontifex in 73 BC. From his very first steps, Caesar wasn't just surviving. He was making it clear that he wouldn't go unnoticed. Caesar's ambition knew no bounds. After his military service, he threw himself into the Roman political career, the cursus honorum. In 69 BC, he was quaestor in Hispania Ulterior. But it was as a curule aedile in 65 BC that his popularity truly exploded. He organized spectacular games, even flooding the Circus Maximus for a Naumachia, a naval battle. These expenditures left him with colossal debts, but also with the fervor of the people. His audacity continued when he was elected Pontifex Maximus in 63 BC, the highest religious position in Rome. And that same year, he was also urban praetor. After his praetorship, he served as propraetor in Hispania, where a brief but successful military campaign earned him a triumph. However, the republican system was stalled, and Caesar needed powerful allies. In 60 BC, he formed a secret political alliance with the two most influential men in Rome, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Pompey the Great, and Marcus Licinius Crassus. Thus, the first triumvirate was born, a government of 3 men. To seal the pact, Pompey married Julia, Caesar's only daughter. With this support, Caesar was elected consul in 59 BC, and despite the fierce opposition of the Senate, he managed to pass a series of laws, including an agrarian law for the distribution of land to veterans, which gained him even more popular support. He also innovated by publishing the Acta Diurna, a type of official gazette that informed the people of senatorial debates, a clear propaganda measure. After his consulship, Caesar was appointed proconsul of Gaul for 5 years, a province that would become his military and political laboratory. This decade, from 58 to 49 BC, was crucial. Here, Caesar forged his legend as an undefeated general. His military style was revolutionary, based on celeritas Caesaris, or Caesarian swiftness, a kind of ancient blitzkrieg. He moved with astonishing speed, surprising his enemies and using the terrain to his advantage. His campaigns included the defeat of the Helvetii, Belgae, and Veneti. He even made 2 incursions into Britannia and 2 into Germania, demonstrating the reach of Roman power and his audacity, although for more strategic than colonial purposes. The climax of the Gallic Wars came with the siege of Alesia in 52 BC, where Caesar, outnumbered, built a double system of fortifications to besiege Vercingetorix while defending against an external attack. It was a monumental victory that culminated in Vercingetorix's surrender and the annexation of a large part of Gaul to Roman rule. But Caesar didn't just fight with weapons. He also fought with words. His commentaries on the Gallic War were a masterpiece of propaganda. Written in the third person, they presented an official version of his exploits, justifying his actions and exalting his image before the Roman people and Senate. The Gallic War, though a genocide for many Gauls, solidified Caesar as an unparalleled military hero with an army fiercely loyal to him. With Caesar in Gaul, his political enemies in Rome, the Optimates, desperately tried to strip him of his army and his position. The tension was at its maximum. The Senate ordered him to disband his legions and return to Rome as a private citizen, where he would likely be prosecuted. It was then, on January 10, 49 BC, that Caesar made a decision that would change the course of history. With a single legion, he crossed the small Rubicon River, the border separating his province from Italy. In doing so, he uttered the immortal phrase, "Alia iacta est," the die is cast. It was an illegal act that unleashed civil war. Caesar acted with his characteristic celeritas. He quickly headed to Hispania, where he defeated the Pompeian legions at Alerta, securing his rear. Back in Rome, he was named dictator for the first time, and then consul. The final confrontation with Pompey occurred at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC in Greece. Caesar, with fewer troops, demonstrated his tactical genius by anticipating Pompey's cavalry strategy and ambushing him, achieving a decisive victory. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was murdered. In Egypt, Caesar met the fascinating Cleopatra, fell in love with her, and supported her in her rise to the throne, even fathering a son with her, Caesarion, although he never officially recognized him. His victories continued at Zela, where he uttered Veni, Vidi, Vici, and at Thapsus against the Republicans. After his victories, Caesar returned to Rome as the most powerful man in the Republic. He accumulated an unprecedented number of titles and honors, finally being named Dictator Perpetuo, Dictator for Life, in 44 BC, a position that went beyond the traditional duration and purpose of Roman dictatorship. Although he was never an emperor in the formal sense, his power was absolute, laying the foundations for what would become the empire. Caesar implemented a series of profound reforms. Calendar reform. His most famous reform was the calendar, changing from a lunar to a solar calendar, which, with some modifications, is the basis of the Julian calendar we use today. Expansion of the Senate. He increased the number of senators to 900, including his supporters, provincial elites, and even sons of freedmen, diluting the power of the old aristocracy. Citizenship and colonization. He extended Roman citizenship to prominent inhabitants of Gaul and Hispania, and carried out an ambitious colonial policy to settle veterans and plebeians, one of his most lasting contributions. Public works. He initiated major projects, such as the Forum Iulium and the Temple of Venus Genetrix, and planned public libraries and a new port at Ostia. Social and economic measures. He reduced the number of beneficiaries of grain distributions, but maintained a moderate debt policy to avoid alienating the propertied classes. His policy of clemency, clementia, toward his defeated enemies was notable, pardoning many Pompeians, including Cicero. However, the accumulation of power, rumors that he aspired to be king, and his clearly authoritarian attitude generated growing opposition among the Republicans, who saw him as a tyrant. Caesar's absolute power alarmed the senators, a group which included men he trusted, such as Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, hatched a conspiracy to eliminate him and restore the Republic. They believed that the dictator's removal would bring freedom back to Rome. The fatal day arrived. The Ides of March, March 15th, 44 BC. Caesar was assassinated during a Senate session at the foot of the statue of his old rival, Pompey. The famous phrase, "You too, my son, et tu, brute," is attributed to him, although it is probably apocryphal. After the assassination, the conspirators fled, and Caesar's body was displayed. Mark Antony, his loyal lieutenant, used the funeral to incite the plebs against the assassins. The people, moved, lit a funeral pyre in the Forum, and Caesar was cremated, thus beginning his worship as Divus Iulius. Caesar's death did not bring the Republic back, but a period of chaos and civil war. In his will, Caesar named his great-nephew, Gaius Octavius, as his adopted son and principal heir, bequeathing him 2/3 of his estate. This young man, only 18 years old, would take the name of Gaius Julius Caesar and present himself as Divi Filius, the son of the god. Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus formed the Second Triumvirate and undertook a brutal purge of their political enemies through proscriptions, eliminating figures like Cicero. Their goal: to avenge Caesar and consolidate their power. The alliance of the Second Triumvirate did not last long. Soon, Octavian and Mark Antony faced off in a power struggle, culminating in the Battle of Actium. Octavian's victory was decisive, eliminating Antony and Cleopatra from the equation. In 27 BC, Octavian consolidated his power and, in a clever move, presented himself as the restorer of the Republic, although he was actually establishing a new system, the Principate. The Senate granted him the title of Augustus, thus making him the first Roman emperor. Here's the key: Julius Caesar was never emperor. It was his adopted son, Augustus, who founded the empire. Julius Caesar's legacy was immense and enduring. The name Caesar It became an imperial title for all successors and is the origin of words like Kaiser in Germany and Tsar in Russia, showing his influence throughout the centuries. Divinization. He was officially deified, divus Iulius, and his worship was maintained until the Christianization of the empire. The Pax Augusta, the foundations of the peace and prosperity of the Roman Empire for the next 2 centuries, were laid by Caesar's reforms and consolidated by Augustus. Rome went from a city of brick to one of marble. In Augustus's own words, referencing his adoptive father's legacy, a new political system. Caesar was the bridge between the dying republic and the empire. His centralizing and military policies laid the groundwork for a form of one-man rule. Historians have debated his figure for millennia. Some praise him as a hero and military genius, Suetonius. Others criticize him as a subverter of the republic and a tyrant, Tacitus. This complexity is part of his appeal. Julius Caesar was, without a doubt, a colossal figure. A man of supreme intelligence, a brilliant politician, and a brilliant and ruthless general. His life was not an inevitable trajectory, but the result of his character, his decisions, and often a dose of luck. His commentaries are one of the most important primary sources for understanding not only the wars, but also Roman politics of the time, although we must always read them with a critical eye, aware of their propaganda function. Caesar transformed Rome's political model, leading it to a more one-man system, although he himself never proclaimed himself king. His public management was, in many ways, more democratic and inclusive than that of his predecessors, giving a voice to social strata that were previously marginalized, even if it meant weakening the Senate. His ability to reconcile factions, even with clemency toward his enemies, was a masterful political tactic. The debate about whether he acted out of personal ambition or the need to usher in a new era remains open. What is certain is that the Roman society he envisioned and began to build was qualitatively and quantitatively different from the previous one. The story of Julius Caesar is the story of a radical transformation. He was the architect of a change that marked not only Rome, but the entire Western world. His figure remains an archetype of leadership, strategy, and audacity, leaving a Rome of brick to inherit one of marble. His legacy is felt even today. The lessons from Caesar about adaptability, logistics, motivation, persuasion, and the audacity to make decisions remain relevant. So the next time you hear the name Caesar, remember that he was not an emperor but a brilliant dictator who, with his actions, set the stage for the empire to come. What do you think? Was Caesar a hero, a tyrant, or a complex mixture of both? Let me know your comments below. If you like this journey through ancient Rome, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating history. Until next time.